Good morning, guys, and welcome to the weekly webinar series where today I have Lorrie Thomas Ross, and she was a previous guest on the show last week. And today she's going to present to us an info webinar, and she is the marketing therapist, and I'm really excited to have her on. She's also an expert in personal branding and add value to the audience. And so, Lorrie, welcome.
Thanks so much, and hi, everyone.
I know you had a presentation, 15-minute, and so I'm really excited to have you on and take it away.
Wonderful. So you're all busy folks, so I want to make sure I respect your time. I have been in the sales and marketing world since earlier than 1999, but in the .com world in those days, and having come from being a seller of advertising to then becoming a buyer of advertising, having the corporate experience, but then also my world transformed when I started teaching. I started teaching marketing for UC Santa Barbara, and then UC Berkeley started picking up my courses on weekends. And my students were business owners or employees at doctors' offices and law firms. And these organizations were paying their students or their employees to be a student in my classes. And I found that there was just so much magic that could happen when these students were empowered with marketing, not only marketing tools, but also just the know-how, and most importantly, having a different relationship with marketing. And that was really transformational for me. And I do have a few images more just to be visual anchors. But before we dive into that, I had a really altering moment. It was the last class before the final projects were due at UC Berkeley, and we were on the San Francisco campus. I let my students know, and again, they're all employees of organizations or business owners. I said, this is your education to claim. Between you and me, teachers as adjunct faculty get paid nothing. I did it because I love the subject. I said, let's just make this something where you truly claim your education. Anything you want to do, whether it's your personal brand so that you get that next great job, or if you need to convince the partners in the practice that this is the next thing to do, or you're going to hire new vendors, just make this something that you truly get professional value out of. And I'm thinking I'm the coolest teacher ever. And then I'm looking around and my students are like, and there's no positive body language. And I was like, okay, we've got to break down whatever ick yuck marketing is happening, because throughout the whole course, there was just enthusiasm, ahas, all that. And I said, help me understand what's going on here, because I just gave you full reign to do whatever you wanted. And the emotions of sales and marketing came up. I do want to update my personal brand, but I don't want to feel like I'm a braggart, or I just don't know how to educate the partners in the practice on how to do this. I'm afraid they're going to push back, and just the natural hesitations. And so what I did is I brought everyone back to the basics of marketing. And no joke, if you Google definition of marketing, even today, definitions, the most prominent definition that will come up is the act of pushing and promoting products and services. And just, that's yucky. I think about used car people. I think about all the stereotypes of sales and marketing. And so I said, of course, we're going to have hesitations to do marketing if we think about it in this pushy, yucky, promotional way, right? And especially in the medical profession, you're not like, hey, I'm a doctor, I can help you, right? Like we want to be of service. And I said, okay, this is what is like almost in our subconscious. So knowing that, now that we're aware of it, let's just think about what we want to accomplish. And I said, just think about that. Take all the tools and the tactics and the budgets off the table and think about what you either want to help your ideal audience understand, or what you're proposing within your organization, or what you want a prospective employer to understand about you. And we just had a really beautiful conversation. And I had some students say, I really want to do more in digital marketing because I have a background in, I want to do more in digital because I have a background in traditional. And actually the two are imperative to success because I understand the science, but I also understand the art and the heart. I was like, great. That's what you're putting on your about section for LinkedIn. And that's your cover letter. And that's what you're reiterating throughout the interview process. I had students in the wine industry. They were both taking the course and they said, we're an organic winery. We have a super customizable wine program. The founders fell in love with sustainable, healthy practices when they traveled to Europe. And for us, it's all about XYZ. And I said, great. We pull up the website. I said, I don't see that you're an organic winery anywhere. They're like, oh, Lorrie, the seal's on the bottom of the page. I was like, okay, on the deep, dark, fiery pits of your website. We had a good laugh and we found ways to bring that language forward. And telling people again and again, right? We have to remember that in psychology, things don't just click instantly. We need to be reminded. And so everyone walked away that week and had a different perspective. And the final class, I wrapped up because I thought about it. I'm like, well, how do we, again, break down this ick yuck feeling about marketing and have these breakthroughs? And I found that it really is a matter of having a happier and healthier and wealthier relationship with marketing. And so I'm going to pull up here. Hopefully this comes up and I'll share my screen, slideshow, play from start. So yes, I am an expert in marketing and specifically digital marketing, but I'm also very much an advocate for happier, healthier, and wealthier marketing. And to do that, we have to redefine what marketing means to us. And while definitions are pushing and promoting products and services, which feel very transactional, if we start to understand that marketing is beyond the transaction, but it's about having a really beautiful method of attracting and sustaining ideal relationships, which is why you're looking at the heart here, then it starts to soften the approach. It takes the fear, the guilt, the shame. I'm a believer that if marketing feels icky, yucky, stressful, overwhelming, expensive, hard, whatever, then it's time to hit the pause button. Whether that's working with vendors or team members, or you're just feeling, I don't know if this is working, it's a really beautiful time to reevaluate. So marketing is the act of maximizing relationships. And I'm an owner myself. I know what it's like to run a business. I've had one for 19 years. And so when I'm working eye to eye with leaders of all industries, medical, education, law, you name it, consulting, wellness, it's looking at the business holistically. And there's the boring administrative part of collecting bills, paying our taxes, payroll, all that. And the operations piece of it, the actual act of doing all we have to do, which is where owners really get caught up. But then there's marketing. And the reason they're all together is to illustrate and reinforce how important it is that marketing is not something that you do when you feel like it or have time, but it's something that needs to be an integral part of our practice. And marketing does not have an on and off switch. It is treated like that most times. The best time to be engaged in marketing is when things are great. You don't want to wait until, oh my gosh, we need to do stuff. We always want to be thinking about it. And of course, everything is hand in hand. So the act of how we communicate, how we represent ourselves as professionals on behalf of our brands. And marketing is everything from awareness, communication, which is information distribution, it's connection, it's service. I love talking about service because we forget about that. We think about the ads or the pushing, right? It's natural to do that. But once we get people in our businesses and into our practices, if we have systems that take great care of them, that is going to save you so much time and money, because those are the folks that stay, refer, and they grow as you grow. When I wrote my book, and it's a vintage book. I'm not encouraging you to go buy it. It's a McGraw-Hill book on online marketing, came out in 2010. While it's still a valid book as far as email and website, the best part of it, which you're going to get right here and save you the cost of the book, is this 5-factor success approach that I launched the book with, and is what I run my agency with, and that our team layers on top of any organization we support, large, small, for-profit, nonprofit, new to marketing, or very experienced. You need these 5 factors in place to make your marketing click. And credibility is the act of getting people to know you, like you, and trust you. Stanford University did a fantastic study decades ago, and it's still very valid, on web credibility. And they found that one of the most valuable pages and highly trafficked pages other than your homepage is the About page. And in order to build credibility, they had simple things like clear navigation, easy to find contact information, things that you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But the trust factor is highly reinforced by telling your story. Storytelling supports selling. And the simple act, and I do this, I cannot tell you how many, especially doctors, the About page might be dated, or there is no why did you start your practice, or anything. Like the LinkedIn page is dated, or personal page, company page. The About page is pretty standard. But having that human why you do what you do, even the people behind the company, that was another thing that came out of the study, is not just we've been around, we're 30 years old and all of that. But I know recently we talked about the story of one of our amazing doctor clients who watched many women in his family suffer from uterine fibroids. And that became his focus because he saw firsthand the suffering and the lack of representation in his community. And it's just become his life's work. And that was not captured originally on the About page. And so that was something that was rewritten. So credibility is knowing trust. It's also the design, it's the user, it's the aesthetics. You don't want a website that looks like your 12-year-old nephew built it, right? Usability is so simple. It's the act of making things easy. You go to a website or you're on your device, you get to the site. How do you get people through it? Clear navigation, things like learn more, or we invite you to schedule a consultation. Simple language like that guides people to where you want them to go can make a big difference. Visibility is everything, right? It's social, it's PR, it's advertising, it's SEO, it's email marketing. And there's no one right way. It's often an integrated approach, but making sure that the credibility is intact before there's a big focus on visibility is wise, and usability, so that those efforts really yield. The sellability part is where I find folks squirm a little bit, because the question there to ask yourself is why you versus the competition. And this is not about being self-centered or braggadocious. It's about really understanding what it is that you do that makes you distinct, that makes you valuable. And there's value that we provide, but there's also our values. And so that's where the big connection comes in. And the last piece of the puzzle is scalability. And we're not just spending time and money on marketing. If we think about marketing as something that we invest in for the life of our organizations and things that make sense, it helps you prioritize the need to haves over the nice to haves. And when everything is working together, and anytime we work with a new client, we layer this framework on top of anything they're doing. And the reality is everyone's doing some sort of marketing, whether they're actively doing it or not. And we find immediate optimizations so that we start with a really rock solid foundation. And by layering this framework on what you're doing, it helps you evaluate your vendors. It may give healthy conversations with people you're already working with. It can ignite conversations with staff, but it can also help you say, ooh, this is something that could be a nice to have, but let's fix this little need to have first so that our marketing is working for us as best as possible. And prioritization does help take the overwhelm out of it. My purpose and my why is to help leaders have a happier, healthier, and wealthier relationship with marketing. And just by thinking about marketing and thinking about some of these factors in a unique way can really help take the stress or the where do I start, or I'm doing everything right, now what, and give you a different lens. And so I'll stop sharing my screen, but I want to make sure that I open things up make sure that we're respecting time as well. But hopefully that we have an approach to marketing that really gives us an enjoyable experience. Think about in marriage, right? Was it stressful attracting your mate? Was it hard? Was it expensive? No. There's often a beautiful journey in that process. And same with our organizations. Awareness, communication, connection, service, all of those support sales, and ideally continuing the process and allowing marketing to be more joyful and less stressful.
Very fantastic presentation. And for the audience, the viewers and listeners, if they were intrigued, what is your client avatar, and what gets people to come to you to work with you? Either their frustration you talked about, just it's stressful, or they trying to grow their business. What's your client avatar?
Thank you for asking that. And it is so wonderful for all of us to think about that. Having been an owner for 19 years, we have found that our ideal avatar is not revenue specific or industry specific, but they are intentional leaders, meaning that they do what they do with passion, purpose, professionalism. They care about the people they work with and they work for, and they have a growth mindset. They want to be doing things better. They don't have an "I know that," very dangerous words altogether, mindset, and they just want to be in collaboration or in partnership with people that share values. And I talk a lot with our clients and even my employees, your value and your values. And I found even rebranding to web marketing therapy, because all my clients called me their marketing therapist and my clients did not know each other. And I was like, I think I'm onto something. By doing that, I actually streamlined how I spend time with prospective clients, because folks that don't, they're like, oh, that's weird. Or what do you mean you're the marketing therapist? The ones that were curious are like, oh, this is a unique approach. And yeah, there is a psychology to marketing, which you have a background in. And yeah, I do want to do marketing in a way that's less stressful. That has helped us really align with our ideal clients. And we are unique as an agency in that we are not an all or nothing. We work arm in arm with agencies that do things that we do, but we might have more capacity, especially with content marketing, things like that. We're very high touch. We've actually had other agencies refer us for certain things that they know we're really just a little more warm and fuzzy about. We also train staff, and we've trained virtual assistants, which is really cool to see. And because they're hardworking, they want to serve their clients, and we'll just come in and say, great on this, but here's some better tools, and let's make sure we have these processes in place, creating SOPs, training documents. And then we do have clients where we are the agency of record, where we might be doing things more proactively for search optimization or things like that. But it is about listening and understanding, and we grow as the client grows. And there are times where we might bring in videographers or extra special pros or help find PR agencies or things like that. But we've been very thoughtful as we've grown to still stay boutique and high touch. And I've broken pretty much every rule in business. I work with my friends, I work with family members, but it works. And even our approach to marketing may not be we understand data, we love data, but we also understand the art and the heart of it too. Yeah, it's just really great to partner with aligned leaders.
Yeah. And how can people connect with you and reach out to you and learn from you?
Lorrie Thomas Ross. You can just Google me. Also, web marketing therapy. We're the only one out there with that name. So we're very easy to find, and we've got a contact form on our website.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for sharing such invaluable information, and thanks again for all of your contributions.